Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad and honored to be part of this event speaking to you today. I would like to start my talk by asking you probably the most random question that you'll ever get asked on this event. And that is, do you journal? No, but actually, do you write down how your day was and your thoughts, your fears, your goals? I do. And it's something that I definitely recommend. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because the source of my message today is something that I wrote 2 years ago on my journal. So if you would let me, I would like to begin this speech by asking you, by reading you actually, this journal entry. And hopefully the message behind it can reach you in meaningful ways. So here it is. This is from 2 years ago. Wednesday morning, end of August, 2018. Mom wakes me up at 6 a.m. It's still dark outside, but so is inside. The lights of the room are on, yet it feels dark. It feels cold. I hear a knock on the door. A lady walks in. She's wearing scrubs and she's holding a clear plastic bag with some fluid inside and the word chemotherapy written on it. As you understand, I'm not home. I haven't been in a while, nor will I anytime soon. For the past 8 months, I've been in Germany, receiving treatment for my cancer. I'm scared that I might never get the chance to go home again. About 2 weeks ago, I had a surgery where they took out the tumor, and with it, a third of my leg and my knee, and replaced that whole thing with a prosthesis, which, if you think about, I guess it's kind of cool that science can do that right now, right? I mean, it's kind of cool. But the surgery had complications, and my leg is now paralyzed. I don't know if I will ever be able to walk again. As the nurse removes the bandages around my leg, I scream out in agony. Is there something that you can maybe give her for the pain? My mom asks. I'm sorry, but no, she's already maxed out on morphine. There's nothing else we can give her right now, the nurse replies. I close my eyes as tight as ever, and every cell of my body is just praying and hoping and wishing that when I open them again, I'll be home. And I won't be in pain, and I'll be getting ready for school, just like everybody else. But every time I open my eyes again, the picture does not change. God, if you're listening, will it ever get better? Will I ever get better? Will the pain never stop? I mean, why doesn't it stop? I feel trapped. See, that's exactly what I want to talk to you today about. Feeling trapped. See, what I failed to realize when I wrote that 2 years ago was that even though I thought I was trapped in my pain, in reality, I was not trapped in the discomfort of my body, but in the comfort of my mind. See, I was trapped in fear, despair, bound by worry, and chained to exhaustion. And why do I refer to these things as comfort? Well, because they were in my comfort zone. So my question to you today is this. Have you ever felt trapped in the comfort of your mind, in your insecurity, your loneliness, your weakness, your fear, in someone else's opinion about you, in what society expects you to be, in your regret, your anxiety, your doubt? And if yes, how do you get out? See, what I realized from my own experience is that when you're locked in the prison cell of your own mind, the only way to escape and get out is to redefine the bars of the cell, the borders that keep you locked in. See, your border is your discomfort, right? And whatever that discomfort might be for you in your life, in order to redefine it, we have to look at the function which it serves. But you see, in order to find the purpose behind the pain, we need the specific perspective. And so today we will explore this function of discomfort by the perspective of 3 different words. These words are familiarity, fight, and freedom. These 3 simple words today will help us escape. But let's take it from the beginning, right? Before we can begin to understand the function of discomfort, we first need to overcome the threat of familiarity. See, when something is familiar, it's common, right? And when something is common, it's comfortable. But that's a problem, and that's a problem because when you get so familiar to comfort, it then becomes dysfunctional. See, comfort does not challenge. Familiarity does not fuel your faith. It does not supply your strength. It does not develop your determination. But what it does is this: your comfort controls how you deal with your discomfort. Because here's what comfort tells you. It tells you, give up. Don't have hope. Don't take risks. It tells you, worry. Have fear. Don't chase that dream. Don't pursue that passion. Oh, you can't do that. That's impossible. And yet we listen to comfort, and we choose comfort, and we run back to comfort. Why? Well, because it's easier. See, living discouraged and bitter and worried is easier, so much easier than holding on and fighting and trying. And a lot of times, we settle for what's easier, for what works, for what's comfortable. Because there's no fear in familiarity. There's no risk. And see, we are so scared of the risk of hope that we choose to become familiar with our comfort zone. But as a result, what we escape to becomes what we are trapped in. Think about it. We escape to familiarity, right? But the dysfunctionality of comfort traps us. And that's exactly what makes it a threat, because it traps us in a state where we choose what gives comfort over what takes courage. And a lot of times we feel so trapped that we start believing that staying trapped is our only option. That staying depressed, that staying lonely, that staying bitter, staying hopeless is our only option. But it's not. It never is. There's always a second option, which also happens to be our second word. See, you can give up and stay in your comfort zone. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. Or you can get out and fight. And how do you do that? Well, you choose to be brave. That's how. See, being brave means pushing through and persevering despite the pain. It means taking the risk of hope, no matter how impossible it seems or how difficult it gets. Being brave means being bold enough to pursue your passion even when all the odds are against you. And it also means being resilient enough to continue to fight even when you feel like you've got no more fight left in you. See, it's about having the unconditional trust that maybe someday tomorrow will be better, that maybe there's light at the end of this, that maybe there's a reason for your struggle. A lot of people call that a delusion. I call it determination. A lot of people call it false hope. I call it faith. See, it's all about how you call it. And if you really think about it, redefining discomfort is truly all about perspective. Because once you see your story of suffering as a source of strength, weakness is transformed to power. But in order for that to happen, you need to be brave. Now, a lot of people's reaction when I tell them that is, well, easy for you to say, right? Maybe you're brave, maybe that person is brave, but what about me? What do I do? I'm not brave. I don't feel brave. But see, what I think a lot of people don't understand is that brave is not something that you are by default. It's something that you become by choice. Nobody is intrinsically brave, but anybody can instantly become. Because being brave is not a feeling. It's a courageous choice of hope. You see, a lot of people's reaction when I tell them that, the thing about being brave, is that, well, maybe that's the case. But even if that's the case, I'm not strong enough to make that choice. I'm not strong enough. You don't have to be. I'm not strong enough either, but I don't have to be. You know why? Because that's exactly what it means to be brave. That even though I'm not strong enough, even though I'm not prepared enough and equipped enough and ready enough, even though I'm scared and the odds are against me and it seems impossible, I choose to keep going anyway. For the first 6 to 7 months of my treatment, I was on this very high-dose, extremely aggressive chemotherapy protocol where I would basically need to stay in the hospital for 25 days every single month. And 14 of those days would be spent in the high-risk intensive care isolation ward for the extremely immunocompromised patients. For weeks, I would be passed out, completely unconscious because of the drugs, then all of a sudden, get up, wake up, throw up, and then fall back down and pass back out again. One night, I remember in particular, I was with my mom in the bathroom, and I remember I just looked up and I stared at myself in the mirror, and I didn't even recognize myself. I started crying, and and you could smell the chemotherapy in my tears. At some point, I looked over at my mom and I asked her, Mom, how did I get here? What happened to me? Where did I go? As we were walking back from the bathroom, I just stopped in the middle of the hallway. I didn't have the strength to take another step. My mom, she gave me a tight hug, and as I stayed there in her arms, crying, desperate, I asked her, Mom, how much longer do I have to hold on for? I can't do this anymore. I don't want to have to be in pain anymore. I don't want to have to suffer anymore. I can't take this any longer. And this didn't only happen that one night. It happened during every night of every chemotherapy and every night of every surgery. To the point that it even became a thing that our family would do. We would just stop in the middle of the hallway, hug each other, and cry together. Stay brave. That's what I told myself. But I was so tired of fighting. I was so tired and so terrified. And the reason why I was so afraid to continue to fight was because I knew the things that I would have to fight against. But stay brave. That's what I told myself. Stay brave you can hold on just for 5 more minutes, please. Please, 5 more minutes, you can hold on. You can do it, just 5 more minutes. I begged myself. And so I stayed brave for 5 minutes, and then after those 5 minutes, for another 5, and another 5, and another 5. And I got through 1.5 years of treatment, 14 rounds of intense chemotherapy, 9 surgeries, countless of sleepless nights, 5 minutes at a time. Staying brave 5 minutes at a time. Not because I was strong. I was the exact opposite. I was not strong. I tried so hard to be strong, but my hands had grown weary from holding on so tight. And my shoulders had grown tired and weak from just holding on and carrying this unbearable weight of pain and suffering for so long. I was not strong. I was weak, helpless, lifeless, powerless. I was not strong. But the fact that I'm standing here today, the fact that every morning I get to wake up, go to school, sit in a classroom, and talk about electromagnetism, thermodynamics, and the French Revolution, the fact that there's a breath in my lungs and my heart's still beating, it screams out that strength is not a requirement for survival. You don't need to be strong enough to make it. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to understand. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to be fearless. All you need to do is stay brave in the face of that fear. Stay brave in the face of the odds. Stay brave in the face of impossible. And choose to keep going anyway. And yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone is difficult. Staying brave is difficult. Choosing hope and holding on to hope is difficult. And you know what? Even getting out of bed in the morning is difficult on some days. But you know what else it is? On all days? Worth it. It's worth it. You might not see it now while it's difficult. That night, I didn't either. That night, I was a mess. But watch this. It was only in that mess that a message of hope was being formed. And see, it's the message that makes the mess worth it. Whatever that message might be for you in your life, whether it's a message of gratitude, self-love, appreciation, kindness, forgiveness, empathy, compassion, I don't even know. But whatever it is, the message makes the mess worth it. The growth makes the pain worth it. But you see, here's the thing. That mess edge is only revealed when you're at the edge of your mess, when you're ready to give up, when you're ready to let go, when you're this close to giving in. But it's up to you. It's up to you to continue to fight. It's up to you to stay brave and have hope. It's up to you to not give up. And you know what happens when you don't give up? Miracles. Not necessarily big ones, maybe small, everyday miracles. Like waking up and getting out of bed in the morning with a breath in your lungs, a beat in your heart, and a smile on your face. Or going outside and feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin. Or seeing your family and giving them a hug. You know, those are the kind of miracles that you start appreciating and noticing when you redefine discomfort. Perspective, right? But of course, there are bigger miracles too. Like, we can't forget about them, we can't ignore them. And in fact, I would like to share one such bigger miracle with you today. As I told you before, for 1.5 years I was in Germany for treatment. And so during that time, my biggest goal, or one of my biggest goals, was to manage to fly home just for a few days in between the chemotherapy blocks and take my finals, pass, and graduate. Like, that was like my biggest goal, all I thought about, all I looked forward to for months. But you see, towards the end of May, I got admitted in the hospital with multiple severe infections. And at that point, I was very, very sick. My bone marrow was just done. Like, my immune system was practically non-existent. My white blood cells were not even detectable. I needed blood and platelet transfusions every few days. I was maxed out on morphine, so many antibiotics, so many medications, injections. Like, the doctors didn't know what else to give me. But none of it worked. I didn't get better, I only got worse. And in fact, I got so much worse that just a week before we were supposed to fly home, like the tickets, everything was ready, but just a week before we were supposed to fly, I got so much worse. The doctors told us that there was just no way I would make it home in time. They said there was no way I would survive the flight home with that kind of an immune system. They said it was impossible for that immune system to regenerate that fast. And like, it was, your immune system can't go from 0 to 10 in 2 days. Like, it was impossible. So we canceled the flight, and I was devastated, you know? I lost all strength and hope to fight, to keep trying. But the story is not over yet. There was one doctor, my oncologist, who didn't give up on me. And I interpreted that as a sort of message from up above that the story is not over yet, that it's not over yet, that there's more life to be lived and to believe. That I just can't give up yet. Not yet. And see, because of that message, because of that one doctor who kept fighting for my dream, I chose to fight for it too, to hope for it too. And I truly believe that it was because of that hope that 2 days after they told us that traveling was just impossible, there was a sudden increase in all of my blood counts. And just 2 weeks later, not only was I back home, I had already passed all my finals, and I was walking. For the first time in 6 months, I was walking. I had been in a wheelchair for like 6-7 months, but now I was walking. Still with a massive tumor in my knee, like pressing against my bones. Every step I took, I could feel that tumor. And yet I was walking across the stage of the school auditorium to receive my diploma. But if you really think about it, in reality, that wasn't just a walk across a stage. It was a walk across impossible. That night for everybody else was just a random Tuesday night, right? But for me, that night was everything. It was everything because it showed me that anything is possible if you're determined enough and if you're brave enough to keep fighting for it, to keep hoping for it. Because let's be honest, a lot of times the only way that you can fight is by holding on to hope. And that's okay. Because that's where our third word comes in. Freedom. Freedom from the chains of hopelessness, freedom from the prison cell of our comfort zone, and freedom from the borders that keep us locked in. So how do you get that freedom? I'm glad you asked. I think it all comes down to this one single question. Will you choose to stay trapped? Or will you choose to stay brave? And before you answer that, I want to leave you off today with the words of one of my surgeons that I think are going to greatly affect your answer. So this doctor, he was the one he was my surgeon here in Greece, the one who performed my biopsy, found my cancer. And we instantly became best friends, and we've been best friends ever since. And so we were on the phone one night talking, and something had happened, and I was very scared for my life at that point. And so we were talking on the phone, and I told him about it, and he told me to be brave. And that was the first time that I had heard of the thing of, being brave. And at first I was like, what? And I remember I asked him, I was like, can I really be brave when I'm so afraid, when I'm so tired, when I'm so broken? Can I really be brave then? And he paused for a minute, and then he told me, you don't get this, do you? That's the only time that you can be brave. So I chose to be brave. and to stay brave. The question is, will you? Thank you.